GAMFIN's training coordinator. Today's webinar is hosted by GAMFIN and CAPLAS through our partnership with Mastercard Foundation on strengthening Ghana's non-bank financial sector. This program is called FIRST Plus, which stands for Financial Institution Resilience and Strengthening. FIRST Plus addresses common challenges across the industry through webinars like this, workshops, and training sessions. CAPLAS also provides one-to-one technical assistance to financial institutions that are committed to scaling MSME finance. At the end of this webinar, we'll provide contact information if you'd like to learn more. Now, today's presenter is Terry Lennon. Terry is an experienced international training consultant in marketing, sales, leadership, change management, customer service, and strategy for financial service sectors. He has worked extensively in East Africa, particularly in Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda over the last 9 years, and has trained over 3,000 personnel. Terry has a strong focus on understanding the marketing mix, that is the product price, place, and promotion, segmentation, negotiation skills, and meeting the strategic goals of financial institutions. He has significant experience in training personnel in marketing communications to increase influence potential and display a professional image to both internal and external customers. Again, also throughout the webinar, we encourage you to submit questions for Terry in the chat box, and we'll address as many as possible at the end of the webinar. Not to forget that we are recording the webinar and we send you a copy of the. Terry, the ground is all yours.
Good morning. Thank you, Nathaniel. And good morning, everybody. It's great to see you, even though I can't see you. I hope that you can see me. So I'm looking forward to the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes, how long it takes to go through some of the issues and challenges of how to handle customer complaints. Nathaniel didn't tell you that I've just come back from Ghana, only arrived back on Saturday morning, having spent some time over there. So I'm looking forward to going through today's session and to getting some of your comments or questions, as Nathaniel said, at the end, and then we will try and go through as many as possible. So our agenda for today's webinar, we look at first as to why customers complain in the first place, and then some small tips on how to resolve them in an efficient and easy manner for you, and hopefully for the customer as well. We will look at what customers expect from their bankers who are dealing with their complaints. And then towards the end, we look at a complaint management system and why it is important to have such a system. And then finally, how to reduce the number of complaints in the first place, because that's where I think we all want to get to. So without further ado, let us go straight into it. So Bill Gates, who was the founder of the Microsoft organization, he said, "Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning." So let's just have a look at that. Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. So if they're unhappy for a reason. And it's up to us as bankers to understand why they are unhappy and try to do something about it. So we need to be listening to our customers all of the time. And you should really think of customer complaints as free customer research. And many banks spend lots of money doing research, both quantitative and qualitative research, trying to understand how customers feel about them. So customer complaints are a way that you get free research because the customer is volunteering to tell you how you are doing. So your customers are telling you where or how you need to improve. And that's a positive stance to look at customer complaints, rather than looking at them purely as something that's negative. They're telling you where and how you need to improve. And remember, the complaint is not personal. So don't take it personally. It's about your organization, your bank, your financial institution. And that's a really important piece to emphasize. The complaint is not personal. So it's about an issue that the customer has with the bank, with the financial institution. So don't take it personally and try to resolve their issue. So you could look at complaints maybe as a gift. If a customer is complaining, you are being given a chance to retain that customer. So they're complaining, they're coming back to you. So they value you enough that they are willing to tell you what is wrong with your service or your product or whatever. They give you the opportunity to build a long-term relationship. And that's what we as bankers are looking for all the time with our customers, to develop a long-term profitable relationship for us as bankers and for the customer. And handled correctly, customer complaints increases the customer trust. So they trust us that when things go wrong, we will resolve them. So people buy from people that they trust. And by resolving their issues or their complaints, we are building up that trust that the customer has in us personally as bankers and in our financial institution. So customer complaints are usually rooted in legitimate problems. So there normally is a legitimate problem that the customer has. So it is worth our while as bankers to try and understand what those problems are. So even if you feel like you have done everything right the first time, you should always take every customer complaint seriously, because the customer is not happy about something. So, for example, it's understandable for a customer to become frustrated when your customer service representatives maybe don't know the ins and outs of your products or services, or maybe if your employees are disinterested, or even if your customers are totally ignored when they're in the branch, or maybe on the phone because you don't answer the phone quick enough. So just be mindful of that it's understandable if your customers are frustrated. If you don't know the ins and outs of your products or services, if your employees appear disinterested, or if the customer feels that they are totally ignored. So when customers have questions that can't be answered, or if they can't find someone to answer their questions, then you've got a problem. And the issue is then, how do you resolve that problem? And try and get into the habit of always apologizing customers when they complain and thank them. So it may feel difficult, but swallowing your pride and apologizing for your customers' poor experience will put you miles ahead of the game. Not just in how customers deal with you as a banker and as an organization, but in how they have experience with other organizations in the service industry. So apologize for their poor experience, and that will put you in a good starting position. As with acknowledgement, apologizing does not mean that you agree with the customer, nor are you taking the blame. So remember that you're apologizing. It does not mean that you agree with the customer, nor that you are taking the blame. And it may even seem counterintuitive, but thanking your customer for reaching out when with their issue will also show them that you're always trying to improve your business. So they will say, here's someone, here's a bank, here's a financial institution that takes my complaint seriously. So it demonstrates that you understand where they are coming from and that you are ready to resolve their problem. So say, thank you for bringing this issue to my attention. It's a very good starting position. So customer complaints can actually strengthen a relationship. So many customers will continue doing business with you after they've been dissatisfied or have complained over some issue that they weren't happy with. In fact, a complaint is an opportunity that you can actually result in the customer having a more positive view of your business after a complaint has been resolved than before they ever had a problem, because you managed the issue professionally, proactively, and quickly. So being able to assess and address customer complaints efficiently is key to making this happen. So maybe let's have a look at what type of customer you're dealing with who makes complaints. And a recent study from the University of Florida found that when dealing with customer complaints, you may run into one of the following types. And we look at 4 types now in turn, each motivated by different beliefs, attitudes, and needs. So the first one is customers who aren't shy. They're not shy about letting you know they're upset. So when responding, avoid mirroring their confrontational behavior. Instead react with firm politeness. So these are people who will complain to you quite a lot, but just don't mirror their confrontational behavior. Instead, act with firm politeness. The second type is customers who pay well and demand premium support for it. When responding, avoid excuses and just get to the solution. And maybe consider creating, and many of you probably already have this, creating a VIP folder to make it easy to identify and respond to people who are really important customers to you. So these people are happy to pay a premium for the service, but they want a good service in turn. And when you have an issue or when you have a problem, the issue is the challenge from your side is to just go and resolve it as quickly as you can. Type number 3 is customers who contact you frequently. So the trick here, or the challenge here, is to stay patient and avoid coming across maybe as frustrated when responding to these customers. Because when satisfied, they often become repeat customers and advocates for your company. So they will be out there referring you to their friends and to their family and their colleagues, because they'll say, my banker and my bank sorted out my problem quickly. And then the final type of customers who complain are customers who don't want to complain and may just take their business elsewhere without ever letting you know. So these people would just take their business elsewhere without letting you know that there was a problem. So what you have to do here is to actively reach out to these customers to solicit and resolve their complaints. Otherwise, you may never hear from them again. And this really is a big challenge. People who don't complain and they just stop doing business with you. So they go to another institution, they leave their accounts dormant, and maybe they tell their friends that they weren't happy with the service that you got. So from your point of view as bankers, what you need to be doing is looking at your customer base and seeing, are there some people that you haven't seen in the banking hall for a while, or their accounts look as if they're going dormant, and then proactively reach out to them and say, is there an issue? Can I help you? Can I resolve any problem that you have? So these are broad descriptions, of course, but being aware of different persona types can help you respond more appropriately to the real person when they are actually that you're actually assisting. So let's look at some research also that was conducted as to why customers leave, why they stop doing business with your bank. And if you look at the graph there, the pie that we have here, 68% of people, they leave because of the poor attitude or indifference by staff. So that's a huge, huge number. 68% leave because of poor attitude or indifference by staff, or what the customer perceives as poor attitude or indifference. And that is totally within your control to resolve that. The second most important reason why they leave is because of product or service dissatisfaction. So they're not happy with the service that they're getting from the product, or the product doesn't deliver to the level that they would have expected. 14% go to a competitor. So it's a small number when you think of it, because most bankers will say, will think that customers are not doing business with me because they've moved away to a competitor. But in fact, it's only 14%. And then 3% move away from the area. So they move to a different part of the city or the country. And then 1% pass away. But the big takeaway from this slide here is to look at why people stop doing business with you. 68% is because of the poor attitude and indifference by staff. So let's have a look at research again as to why customers complain to banks. And the top 10 reasons why customers will make a complaint. Number one is because of excessive or hidden fees. So lots of people are prepared to pay a fee, but they don't like the fee to be hidden. So if there's a fee and you can add value, tell the customer this is what the charge is, but also tell them the value that you as a bank or as a banker are bringing to the customer. The second most reason that people complain is because of bad customer service. And that links into the previous slide as to why people stop doing business with you. So again, this is totally within your control to resolve. So if you resolve this, you'll get more people staying with you, not leaving, and you will get less complaints. Number three is because checks or funds bouncing when there's actually money in their account. Number four is overdraft fees. And number five is an interesting one, that not feeling wanted. So a lack of loyalty by the bank. So that's an emotional reaction as to why people complain. They don't feel that the banker wants them, or that the bank is not loyal to them. Number six is maybe loan or mortgage issues that customers have. Number seven is where there's a bank error and or a mistake, and the bank is slow to resolve it, or maybe the bank doesn't resolve the issue. Number eight, again, is about bad branch experiences. So another emotional reason why people complain. They had a bad branch experience. And again, that's within your control to resolve. Number nine is small businesses feel that they are not handled fairly. And number 10 is bankers and banks failing to honor their promises. So the customer feels that The bank made a promise and they failed to honor it. So remember, when you make a promise to a customer, it's up to you to always deliver on that promise. If you have an issue in delivering, what you have to do is you have to contact the customer and say, listen, I thought I would get your loan application approved by today. It's going to take another 2 or 3 days, just to let you know, but you keep the customer informed at what the situation is. Because sometimes things happen, we make a promise and we just cannot deliver because it's outside of our control. But the important thing is to keep the customer appraised of the situation, and that will reduce or stop their complaints altogether. And remember the difference between a customer query and a customer complaint. So firstly, a query is not a complaint. So if a customer has a query, an honest, factual explanation is usually all that is needed. And maybe they're saying, can you tell me what is the rate that you charge? And you give them an honest, factual explanation. And that's all that is needed. However, if the same query keeps occurring, it suggests that you probably need to adjust the information or the service that you are giving to your customers, because customers are not receiving that message or they don't understand it. But if it's just a query about a product or a service, what you need to do is give them honest, factual explanation and be upfront and make sure your communication is clear. When you receive a complaint, the important thing is to don't panic or reply immediately. Take time to consider what is the real issue here. So when conflicts arise, some people have a tendency first to deny them. No, that didn't happen. That's not our problem. Then to debate them with the customer and maybe shift responsibility to another department, to IT, to maybe the infrastructure, whatever, and place blame for them or hold their breath, hoping that they'll go away. Okay. So the main thing is to take a deep breath and say, to acknowledge that there is an issue. So accept ownership of the problem and then try and collaborate with the customer on a solution and take on the burden of finding a resolution regardless of the fault. Remember, the customers are saying they're not happy about something that you or your financial institution has done. So don't be arguing, don't be blaming someone else, don't shift responsibility, don't deny it because the customer feels that they have a problem. Accept ownership of the problem and then try and collaborate on a solution. So how can we resolve this issue together? So complaints usually have some validity and maybe can be an early warning system of conflict on the horizon. So while we mightn't like to recognize this, in most cases, a customer complaint is normally based in some issue and they have validity that there's something wrong somewhere within our system. When you view complaints in this way, they can actually become your ally or your friend, helping you to resolve problems and minimize their impact, both to the customer and indeed also to yourself and to the bank. So complaints that go unattended may evolve into conflicts that could have been avoided. So think of your complaints as an early warning system that there's something wrong somewhere in our business or in our branch and that we need to resolve them. So complaints that go unattended may evolve into conflicts that could have been resolved or avoided altogether if we had taken earlier action. So, as I said, before you get defensive, take a breath. So when we get defensive, we make it harder for our customer to hear what we're saying. And we usually trigger the other person's defensiveness too. So therefore, we have both people maybe arguing about an issue. So the challenge is to stay calm, because what you want to do is you want to move towards cooperation and away from any explosion or argument with the customer. So stay calm and see, how can we resolve this issue? A useful process for handling objections is to use the mnemonic LATER, L-A-T-E-R. So the L is for listen, the A is for ask, the T is for think, the E is for engage, and the R is for review. And just a reminder, everybody, what Nathaniel said at the start, that a recording of this will be up on the website and will be possible to download all the slides that you see here today as well. So looking at the mnemonic LATER, L for listen. The big thing here is don't just jump in. Use active listening. So you're nodding to the customer and you say, yes, okay, I understand what your issue is. And remember, everybody has the right to complain and have alternate or different views as to the service that you are offering. So listen, and listen intently. The A is for ask. So get more information if you need it. So clarify what the real problem is. So ask questions until you really understand what the question is. Then the T is think. So pause to think of what your complaint handling technique should be. So you don't have to come up with an immediate answer. Give yourself time to think, have a pause and say, oh, yes, just let me think about that for a moment. And then the E is for engage. So respond using your chosen complaint handling technique. And we look at that now in a minute, a way that we can suggest that you use. And then the R is review. Check that you have addressed their issues. So say any concerns, have people any further issues? Have I addressed the problem that you have or that you had? And only when the customer is totally happy can you move on. So a typical and useful customer handling technique is when you hear a customer complaint or an objection, the first thing that you say is critical. So think 1, 2, 3. So number 1 is to acknowledge. So yes, okay, I understand your issue. I understand where you're coming from. And in many, many cases, that diffuses the anger or the frustration that the customer has when they're making a complaint. So you're empathizing with the customer. You're putting yourself in their shoes and you're saying, okay, yes, okay, I understand. I understand where you're coming from. And then number 2 is to paraphrase. So to repeat back to the customer your understanding of what their issue is, to make sure that you fully understand it. So you say, so your real issue here is, and then you say it back to them in your words so that you understand it and you get their agreement. Yes, this is the problem. And then try and get ask questions to get more information. So say, tell me a bit more about that. Tell me exactly what happened. And by probing your customer or your prospect, you will get real information about their concerns. And then what you can do is you try and resolve the issue. But you have diffused their anger, their concern by 1, 2, and 3. Acknowledge, paraphrase, and ask questions to get more information. And once you understand the real issue, then you're in a better position to try and resolve their complaint. So what I would urge you to do is at some stage, maybe after this webinar, or maybe this evening when you're at home, to give you some homework. and try and identify what are your main customer complaints. So identify in your branch, in your bank, what are the 5 top customer complaints, or what are the 10 top customer complaints? So what are the most frequent complaints and objections customers raise as to why they're unhappy with your service, or maybe why they won't do business with you or with the bank? Okay. And then what you should do is identify sample answers that can persuade the customers that you can resolve their issues or get them to continue to do business with you. Because you know what the standard complaints are and what the frequent complaints are. And by doing this, by preparing in advance, you will look more professional. You will have your answers prepared. You will know what the challenge is, and you will know how to help the customer so that you can resolve their problems. So it's a bit of work. Look at the top 10 customer complaints, top 10 customer objections, and then see, how can I answer them in a professional manner? And that gives you confidence when you're dealing with the customer. And people want to deal with people that they feel that they can trust and are confident in their own ability to do my banking business for me and to give me service. So what are customers really looking for? What every customer wants from the person handling their complaint is, they want, number one, they want to be heard. So they want to believe that someone is listening to them and someone understands. Number two, they want to be understood. So they want to be heard and they want to be understood. So do you understand what my issue is? Number three then is, they want to be cared for. And again, this is down to the emotional side of how you handle customers. It's not just about facts and figures and details. It's about having empathy with the customer and having an emotional attachment with them. So customers want to be cared for. They want empathy. And obviously, number 5, they want a resolution. So they want you to resolve the issue that they have. And then number 6, they want acknowledgement that they are valued. The customers are giving you their hard-earned money to mind in a savings account or an investment account, or they have a loan with you, so they're giving you their business. So they want to feel that you care about them and that you value them. So number 1, again, they want to be heard. Number 2, they want to be understood. Number 3, they want to be cared for. Number 4, they want empathy. Number 5, they want a resolution. And number 6, they want acknowledgement that they are valued. So how do you satisfy your customers? Listen to them, anticipate their needs, go above and beyond what they are looking for, and give great service. So if you're giving great service all of the time and going above and beyond and giving what we call wow customer experience, that will help reduce your complaints significantly. And when they do happen, you just need to look at the 6 points there and deal with them as calmly and as professionally as you can. It is important to have a complaint management system in the bank and in your branch. So make sure that you have a system where you can manage the complaints. So an effective complaints management system can help you in many ways. It can help you identify opportunities for improvement of your processes and products or services. It can eliminate the root cause of the problems and stop problems from happening again, instead of just dealing with complaints when the problem arises. It helps you deal with a complaint in its early stages, avoiding the escalation and problems that might occur afterwards. And it helps improve your company image and the financial institution's image, your bank's image, and it helps improve customer satisfaction and loyalty. And as a banker, it helps you also because it improves your image, that people will feel that you are a professional and you are dealing with them in an efficient manner. So the steps for handling a customer complaint. The first, number one, is the customer complaint is received. And then you need to record the complaint, because if you don't record a complaint, then you won't be able to analyze it subsequently. So in a branch, maybe customers are, there's a customer complaint book, or they're complaining at the front desk, but you need to implement a system where the complaints are recorded. And then you need to analyze the complaint. So what type of complaint is this? Or is it maybe just a query about a product? And then resolve the complaint. That's the main thing for the customer. So the customer wants it resolved in a speedy manner. And if the complaint is resolved, then formally close it off, because you want to look back at your register, and your register can be either on a laptop or can be in a complaints book, and you monitor to make sure that complaints are closed off and the customer is happy. Number 6, if the complaint cannot be resolved by yourself, then there's need for to escalate the investigation. So maybe there was an issue with an ATM that requires escalation to the IT department or whatever. Or maybe it needs escalation to the credit department if it's a credit issue. So it might need to be investigated further. And then number 7, and this is really, really important, and this is why you need to have a complaint management system. Periodically review the nature and cause of complaints and develop an action plan to eliminate the cause of complaints. So if you find that you are getting the same complaints time and time again, now it's time for you to go to the root cause and to find out what is causing these complaints. And you can only do that if you have a complaint management system. Now, a complaint management system sounds very fancy, but as I said, it could be on your laptop in the branch. It could be on a book. And then from time to time, you see, what are the type of complaints that we are getting most frequently? And then why? And then go to the root cause of the issue and try and resolve it so that these complaints reduce or they go away altogether. Just an example here from HSBC Bank. And as you know, HSBC Bank is one of the biggest banks in the world. And they have a customer complaint policy. And it might be worthwhile for you as a bank or you as a branch to develop your own customer complaint policy. And what they have is they say, and this is HSBC, if you have received unsatisfactory service or have an issue with a policy or process, please contact us so that we may work to resolve the problem as quickly as possible. So what they are doing is they are inviting people to complain. And that's really, really interesting that they are inviting people to complain, because that's the only way that they can resolve problems. And it's the only way that they can understand any problems that you might have. So just look at that and see, is that suitable for your bank or your branch? If you have received unsatisfactory service or have an issue with a policy or process, please contact us so that we may work to resolve the problem as quickly as possible. And then they go on further to say, for each complaint, we are committed to formally acknowledge receipt. And they have this as part of their customer complaint policy. They say, number 1, we will formally acknowledge receipt. We'll provide you with regular updates on our progress in dealing with your complaint. We'll provide you with a response in a defined time frame, and you decide on what that time frame is, but it should be as quick as possible because customers want their complaints resolved as quickly as possible. They say, we'll provide a solution to resolve your complaint to your satisfaction. So that's a big and bold statement, that they will provide a solution to resolve your complaint to your satisfaction. And then finally to say, we'll provide you with alternative solutions in the event of a response is not satisfactory. Because sometimes they mightn't be able to resolve it. What they're saying is, we'll provide you with alternative solutions in the event of a response is not satisfactory. And their final piece is, they say, each complaint is an opportunity for us to improve the quality of our service. And this is where we started, by looking at complaints in a positive manner. So what HSBC Bank do is one of the biggest banks in the world. They're inviting people to complain, because they say each complaint is an opportunity for us to improve the quality of our service. And that applies equally to you, whether you're in a head office in a bank, or whether you're in a bank branch or financial institution. The policy of your branch could be, each complaint is an opportunity for us to improve the quality of our service. So if you adopt that positive mindset, it's a different mindset of being negative towards customer complaints. So how to reduce customer complaints in the first place? Because while when they come, it's an opportunity for us to resolve them. It's better if they don't come at all, because you are giving a good service. So how to reduce customer complaints? Number one is to exceed the customer expectations. So personalize your service and deliver a wow customer experience that the customer says, wow, that was really good. So personalize the experience. Say the customer's name if you know it, okay? And give them an experience, not just a standard service that they will get. Number two, always be available. Be there to serve customers whenever they need you to be there. Reliability and availability are vital. When the customer has a problem or an issue, they want you there, either in person in the branch, or at the other end of the phone, or at the other end of an email. Customize how you serve. Find or develop solutions that fulfill your individual's customer specific needs. Treat them as individuals. And what has happened as a result of the pandemic, COVID-19, and as a result of social media, is that more and more people are not coming into the branches. And when they do, they feel as if they're just a number. So try and customize the service that you give and treat them as an individual. And then finally, be easy to deal with. Make doing business with you easy and pleasurable. Try to exceed customers' expectations by creating hassle-free experiences. So that's what you're trying to do. Give them pleasurable experience when they visit your branch, or when they deal with you on an ATM or your website. So try to have it a pleasurable journey for the customer. Try to give them a wow experience, and try and create hassle-free experiences for your customers. So my last slide, how to reduce customer complaints. Always put the customer first. Don't wait for opportunities to present themselves. Seek them out. Give customers more than what they expect. So understand your customers. Key to banking and to customer service and reducing complaints is understanding the customer, putting them first, understanding their needs, and then meeting those needs, and meeting them plus give them something extra. And remember, when you are dealing with complaints, remember your non-verbal communication. So when communicating with customers, observe their non-verbal signs and be mindful of your own body language. So read what their body language is saying. and be mindful and be careful of your own body language. So you want to present a friendly image to the customer, have appropriate eye contact, and use appropriate hand gestures, etc. And then communicate constantly. Ask open questions that result in a dialogue. As a banker, if you are talking, you are probably doing too much, because what you want to do when you're resolving a customer complaint is asking open questions. Tell me what happened. Tell me how you felt. Tell me what the situation was. So ask open questions that result in a dialogue. And the more the customer talks, the more that you will learn about them. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of my slides. I hope you found it interesting. I've enjoyed having this discussion with you. So remember, the video is available, or will be available, and the download of these slides are also available. And could I just encourage you to download the slides, have a look at them in your own, in the peace and quiet of your own office, or maybe tonight or over the next few nights at home, and then share them with your colleagues. Share them with your colleagues and say, how do we answer customer complaints? What is the process that we have? And can we learn from the slides here and just start to look at complaints in a positive manner rather than a negative manner, and say, this is our customers telling us or advising us how and where we need to improve. So with that, Nathaniel, I will hand back over to you, and if there's any questions or whatever, we can deal with them now. So Nathaniel, can you hear me? Are you there? Can you deal with any queries that you have from any of the people who are on the webinar?
I think I've seen that Nathaniel's been having some connection issues. Yeah. So I noticed that somebody's hand was raised, but now I don't see it. Here it is.
I see it's Winifred.
Yes, Winifred. So why don't you ask your question? And I think you're on mute, so you'll have to unmute yourself. Okay, Winifred, do you want to ask your question? Looks like.
So I think Winifred is having some issues. Maybe there's one question that I saw coming in, Lynn, that I might just answer while we are waiting for hopefully Winifred or Nathaniel to come back online. And that was a question about, are customer complaints a good thing, or are they a bad thing for the bank? So it's a good question, because we were saying here that it's a good way to get customer research. So how would I answer that? Are customer complaints good or bad? I suppose, well, obviously we're all human. We don't like getting complaints, as they're a sign that something has gone wrong with our service to our customers. However, we're all human, so things do go wrong, even in the best of times, in our dealings with our customers. And with complaints, it's much better to be aware of these so that we can then resolve them and improve the level of our service to our customers. Because if you don't know what the service issues are, then you cannot resolve them, and customers may stop doing business with you. But by getting a complaint, it gives you the opportunity to resolve the problem that might exist in your organization.
So here's another question. There's the saying, the customer is always right. Do you agree with that position?
No. The customer is not always right, even though that's a phrase that's used all of the time. But no, the customer is not always right, because sometimes the customers, they just get their facts mixed up, or maybe they don't fully understand what the bank is offering them, say in maybe a loan deal, or maybe what the product can offer. But the customer should always be treated with respect and with courtesy. And where a customer has maybe incorrect information, you as the banker, you should point that out to them, what the real facts are, but do so in a caring and a respectful manner of your customer. It may even be appropriate to thank them for giving you the opportunity to clarify the situation with them, and apologize for any confusion caused, because maybe your communication wasn't as clear as it should be, and it allows you to, in a respectful manner, to advise the customer what the real situation is.
Thank you for that. And I have one last question. How do you handle, that difficult customer who comes in, is always complaining about this and that and all these little things? What's the best way to handle people like that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's there's no easy answer to it, because that's a real challenge, and it's a real challenge that all bankers face. But the way I look at it, I think it's an opportunity for you as well, because remember, in banking, the art of relationship management, particularly of our important customers, to your branch or to the bank, it's a real skill. So relationship management is a real skill, and getting closer to these customers will allow you the opportunity to find out maybe have they any underlying issues that's causing them or compels them to continually complain. And what I found is that usually you will discover that the customer maybe has an old grievance that has not been acknowledged, or maybe even resolved. So by becoming aware of what this issue is, you have a better chance to repair the relationship that he or she has with the bank, and may reduce or stop that person from complaining all of the time.
Great. Thank you very much. Can you show the next slide? I think that's the end of our questions for today.
Yes.
And Nathaniel, if you're online, you can take over. I guess I'll go ahead. So we have another webinar coming up this week on Thursday, also about customer relationship management. This one is presented by Josephine Adams, who is in Ghana and has worked at Sanapiaba Savings and Loan. And then next week, we have the last in this series of webinars on the 25th. And the focus is on developing an MSME focused marketing and sales plan. And Terry will be leading that one as well. So with that, I want to thank everybody for attending, and thank you, Terry, for this informative session. And we look forward to seeing all of you again on Thursday and again next week. Thanks very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Have a good day and happy good luck with you in resolving your customer complaints. Goodbye. Bye-bye.